Hey guys, this is Matt. Welcome back to the channel. And it's been a really long day, but I do have a few hours here tonight that I can get some work done on the last little bit of things we got to get into the FD. So this weekend is the first Saturday of the month, and that's always Cars and Coffee here locally. So I think for the last 2 months, I've made a goal of trying to get this car to Cars and Coffee, and then just it never worked out. But I think if I can get at least the driver's side door card put back together, I can certainly take this car to Cars and Coffee, provided there isn't any other unforeseen issues with the car. I do have a few nights this week, so I should be able to hopefully get both door cards repaired and get those back in the car. And of course, that's going to involve getting the speakers sorted out and make some repairs on the door cards, which is kind of what I've been working on. So that's what's on the workbench behind me right now. I went ahead and disassembled the driver's side door. The passenger side is going to be a little bit simpler because there's just not as much stuff to deal with. But my door cards are surprisingly in good shape, but there are a few issues. So let me show you what I got to deal with and then how we might go about repairing some of these things. So like I said, my door cards are, there's a few scuffs here and there. They are dirty, so that definitely have to be cleaned, but I don't have any major tears, any significant damage. There is maybe a little bit of warpage right there. Not sure if that's something that can be worked out. All things considered, the plastics are intact. And again, I think the main part of the door card just needs a really good cleaning. Probably go ahead and apply some back to black just to get it nice and shiny to kind of match everything else we've done in the car. I really don't have to do a whole lot to this. There are two things that I do need to try to repair, and I'll show you that in just a second. There's a few screws you pop off the backside, and all these little vents and trim pieces and all that stuff just pops off. Disassembly is really easy. Now, the only real damage, if you want to call it that, is on my map lid. There is a crack right there that, these lids are a little bit stiff to open, and with enough pressure, that crack will kind of open up. I'm fortunate to even have mine. I know these don't fare well, and there are companies out there that make new ones or aluminum ones and various things. So I think for me, I might try to just force some epoxy in here and then sand this down and paint it. But long term, maybe need to take some time and maybe reinforce this lid, or keep my eye out on some of the aluminum versions that people have made. So again, that part is there's a little other broken tab up here, but it's not that critical. I could use some plastic staples from the backside. Of course, that wouldn't, that would show up and not be as nice of a repair, but that's one option I would have. Anyway, that just needs some cleaning, some epoxy in that crack, sand that down, and I should be able to get that painted. And the little coin tray insert that goes inside there has definitely seen better days. I don't know if that was flocked or how they did that, but I could just knock that off and also paint this, or just leave it out altogether. So I don't know, it's intact, but it definitely needs some cleaning if I'm gonna keep it. But that's something that can be done later. It doesn't have to be done as part of getting the door card back in the car. All the rest of my plastics are fine. No major issues, just super dirty. Lots of crud down inside there. So these will all get really cleaned. I'll just take these completely apart, rinse them out in the sink. Anywhere that there's a foam gasket or whatever you want to call that, I'll have to get that replaced just like I did the dash. So really all of this is just similar to things I've already done on the car. Really the only major repair that I need to make is here and then there, where that's really the only connection between this side of the panel and then the lower section. They're cracked, so it causes some play and some wobble in the panel. I think the little metal clips, which I'll flip all this around and show you a little bit better, but the little metal clips that go here don't do a really good job of holding this together. So I think to fix this in a more secure way, I'll probably just make some new brackets out of aluminum bar that are a little bit more substantial, and that possibly we can screw in or do some sort of fastening into the foam, which this whole entire door card is just foam. I guess it's a hard foam, but it's brittle. It's not going to hold a screw well. You're not going to be able to epoxy it. So it's really not a great design, but these are the only two locations that I have to address. So let me get this flipped around and I'll kind of show you what I got in mind. So when you look at the underside of the door card, this is the back. This is kind of where the handle is, and then this is like the window switches. In the center, you've got these are the two areas that are broken on mine. They have these little metal, you want to call them brackets or braces, I don't know what you want to call them, but they basically reside right here. So They just, you know, when they kind of go around where the screws go back into the plastic trim on the other side, they don't necessarily do anything to really hold the panel together. Now, they probably do give something for the screws to kind of, you know, give some resistance, and it does kind of hold things together. But overall, it's really not doing anything to hold these two sections of the panel together. This is a 1/16 inch, half-inch aluminum bar, so it's pretty thin, something I can easily bend, and really you don't need anything super substantial. But if I could remake this out of the aluminum and pretty much match it, except make the ends of it longer, so I could bring this end and turn it down here, and so that'll give it some more support to actually hold on to the foam. And then here, I could pretty much either just match what they've done or make it a little bit longer, but I may be able to drive an extra screw or do some sort of fastening here so that it can hold on to this section of the foam. And then I could basically do the same thing over here as well. So what I'd be trying to accomplish is essentially remake these brackets out of the aluminum bar, but just let them be longer so that I can bend them and form them around the foam. And that'll give me some additional lengths to fasten. I'll put the camera down and start kind of figuring out the lengths and the bends and cutting these bars to length, and maybe go ahead and just test it and see if it's going to be reasonable before I go ahead and drill out all the holes and all that stuff. And then once I've kind of got a really good plan on how I'm going to do this, I'll check back in with you guys and show you what we're going to do. This is what I've come up with. I pretty much made an exact copy of this, the whole entire profile. So this one, you know, I definitely tried to match the profile because there's a little bit of curvature in the way this is made. That is like a really good fit. So I'll have to come up with a way that I can fasten all this and it's nice and strong, because, you know, if I just screw into the foam, it's just going to pull it out. I may have to do maybe a screw or two just to hold things in place. When I made this repair with some plastic epoxy, I mean, it feels extremely strong. So maybe what I can do is use some screws, but then also pack it with some of this plastic epoxy and see if that'll help hold it all together. But really, you know, I don't need much up here because of the way it's bent and hooked onto it. I just really need a good connection down here. So there's a little thickness here that I could put a screw, but again, it's just going into this foam, so it's not going to be super strong. Really, the next thing I need to do is just mark out the corresponding holes here and here on each of these, drill those out, and then I should be able to figure out a permanent way to get these installed. And then we can go ahead and clean up this panel and get all the trim pieces cleaned up. I'll need to see if I need to paint any of this, and then we can go ahead and reassemble the door card. Here's what I came up with. I think is going to be a fairly decent solution. It's not going to be permanent, but as long as I'm careful when I'm shutting the door and I'm not being real rough on the panel, I think it'll be okay. So I went ahead and installed the screws that go through to the plastic on the other side, and that kind of helped me get everything in the location it needed to be. And then on this one, there's really not a lot of meat on that side. So I'm just going to bend this tab to where it's putting, you know, a fair amount of pressure on this part of the panel. And then I was able to get a 1/2 inch screw down here, and that's really secure. This one's even better because I was able to get a screw here and a screw there, and that's really sturdy. I still might go ahead and put some plastic epoxy where it was torn just to, you know, help hold all that in place, but I think that solution is going to be fairly strong. Next thing I need to do is just go ahead and get this whole thing cleaned up really well and go ahead and clean all that stuff. And maybe once it's clean, I'll be able to really evaluate what needs to be done. Of course, this plastic piece here is that smooth plastic that has that kind of texture on it. It's going to be in fairly rough shape. So this might be a piece that's worth going ahead and sanding down. And this is where the map lid kind of sits over here. So it might be worth taking these two pieces and sanding them down and going ahead and getting some paint sprayed on them. But I'll go ahead and get everything cleaned up and just make sure that that's all I need to paint, and then we'll get these prepped. So this panel is a lot like the other. It's just very dirty. Overall, it's in good condition. There is one tear here in the door, so I'll need to get that kind of patched up, see what I can do with that. The underside, there wasn't anything broken that I could find. So for the most part, good cleaning, and then this can get reassembled. The passenger side door handle trim, on the other hand, has definitely seen some better days. It has been repaired in the past because there's a bunch of epoxy that's been poured down into the handle, and I can see where this had all been split and cracked. So I'm not sure how much of that I'm gonna try to deal with, because it may just be worth trying to find a new one or a replacement piece. So I'll clean it up as good as I can for now and make any little necessary repairs, but I'm not gonna go too crazy because I'll probably just look for a replacement eventually. So now that I've got everything taken apart from both cars, I really need to sit down and evaluate what I want to do. If it's just going to be as simple as sanding all this down and painting it. I was talking to a guy on Instagram, and he had shown me his project where he had vinyl wrapped all this, and it actually looked really good. And I did get to thinking that vinyl wrap might hold up better than paint will in the long run. So I do have some vinyl wrap to take a look at, and I might play with a few pieces, but I think my primary focus for right now is getting everything cleaned up, and then I do need to make some repairs on the lid for this compartment. I'm gonna start looking at a few of these things, and then I'll check back in when I've got a plan for what we're gonna do next. It was really bothering me, so I went ahead and took the passenger side door handle apart, and you can see where the repair was made. So it still holds on with a couple of screws, but it definitely wasn't attached to whatever repair that is. And I don't know if it'll pick up in the camera very well. All the little places where a screw kind of goes in is cracked and broken. I thought the switch was in bad shape. The switch is actually complete. It's just the housing where the switch goes into, it doesn't quite, it's like loose. It doesn't have anything to connect to. And overall, it is not completely destroyed, but I think with the handle, I know that's typical for there to be damage on these handles. Really, these door cards are quite flimsy, all things considered. So I think I'm gonna go online and see what I can find in the used market before I deal with this too much, because that is just going to require a lot of repairs and probably won't be a very good solution in the long run. Like I said, I'm not even sure what this is. It's like almost like a metallic, I don't know what that is, but anyway, that's not good. So I'll get online and see what I can find. I think I'm just gonna start by cleaning everything, because inevitably everything's just covered in crap and dirt anyway. So that'll be the start. While I'm cleaning all this up, I'll decide what I want to do. You know, either repaint some of this stuff or get it wrapped. So I'll check in once I've got some better direction on that. So this is a couple days later, and after doing some research online, I couldn't find very many solutions for replacement handles for right-hand drive passenger doors. I know there are other options for left-hand drive cars. Several companies make aluminum or thicker plastic remakes of the handle. I kind of gave up searching for a handle for the right-hand drive, and coincidentally, just like a couple days before 7 stock, BubbleTech posted an image on their Instagram saying that they were going to probably start making right-hand drive passenger side handles. I decided just to go ahead and fix the one that I have as good as I could. Getting it out of getting it off the trim was kind of a pain, because some of this epoxy or whatever this is did actually bond pretty well. But I did need to get it off, because in order to make the repair, I needed access. I needed to get the handle off so that I had access to this side here. What I ended up doing is using 4 plastic staples, and you can kind of see the one there that didn't get set very well, but I did, 2 over here and 2 over here, and there was enough plastic that stuck down and where it connected that it was a nice good overlap. Sanded it all down, went ahead and put an extra layer of epoxy inside of everything just to fill any gaps, and that feels really, really strong. It's not perfect, and I haven't decided if I'm gonna put the factory handle back on, or I've got a little piece of vinyl leather. I might try to wrap this in, or try to track down some like Alcantara or something, but I did need to get the handle off, and it was as simple as on the inside here, just running a razor. There's a smooth section. You just run a razor down there and it just pops right off. So if you have to do that, it's pretty self-explanatory. So I will just put this back in the car for now, and then wait and see how the ones from BubbleTech turn out, and might pick up one of those just to replace this. And then some of the other items that I had that were broken, this is the the map lid on the driver's side. So I, again, put some epoxy in there and used some plastic staples on the inside, and that feels really secure. There were a couple other little pieces that were breaking off that I put some more plastic staples on. So basically used plastic staples and epoxy on anything that was broken. I went ahead and sprayed paint on just about everything that needed paint. So these are all the little metal brackets for the speakers and whatnot that were rusty. So I sanded them down and got them painted. Went ahead and painted everything like the speaker grills and all the other vents. For the little handles where the door handles go, I just sanded those down and used black satin paint, and they turned out really good. So I just thought this would be easiest considering the shape this was. And I do them, again, they make aftermarket versions of this, but mine were in good condition other than just being scratched up. So painted them and they turned out really good. And then for the big pieces of trim, I've decided I'm probably just going to go ahead and wrap these. I think the paint would be a good option as well, but considering you're going to be in contact with these and they're likely to get scratched and dinged up, I think putting a wrap on this is going to probably hold up a little bit better. But I can just salvage these for what I need to do. So I will go ahead and wrap these. And of course the passenger side, the shape's a lot more complex, but I think I can just be careful when I'm laying out my wrap and try to curve it in here pretty good. And I was messaging with Clay Spec, and I'll put his information here on the screen, but on Instagram, and he was showing me his project where he pretty much went through this whole thing, and he used this carbon fiber vinyl wrap, and it looked really, really good on his car. And I went ahead and picked up the product that he used just to try it out. This would be the only thing in my car that has carbon fiber. And I got to thinking about it, and I said it might look tacky considering everything else is just black. So I went ahead and picked up some just matte black 3M vinyl. And so I will use that and get this all, these two pieces laid out. I'll also do it on the lid for my map compartment, and there's a little piece right here that needs it as well. So, and I might go ahead and put some on this part just to help cover up some of this roughness. You'll never see it because it's on the back side of the door handle, but I might just put a little piece of wrap on there. I'll probably clear all this out of my way because I'll need some room to work, and this will probably be the easiest piece to start with just because it's pretty much a rectangle and there's no significant curves. So I'll probably start on these two pieces and get these done. Then I've got the two door trims. Now this one, like I said, will be really complicated. I'll have to use a lot of heat and really try to get that molded in there. Worst case, I can pull it off if I need to and paint it if it doesn't turn out well. So anyway, I'll get this cleaned up and then I'll start getting everything ready so we can go and wrap some of these things. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the video off there. It's gone on too long, but I will get to the wrap and finishing up the door handles and things like that in the next video. For those that have stuck around, I'll go ahead and give you a quick sneak peek of what the door cards look like. So I'm not sure how much of that you'll actually be able to pick up, but they look really, really good. And something else I wanted to mention real quick was that in my last video, there were some comments about, audio and music playing in the background. And at first I didn't understand what people were saying. So I went back and listened to my video with the volume turned up really loud and wearing headphones, and I could hear the music as well. And the only thing I can conclude is that it was actually coming from my neighbors, and the microphone on my camera just happened to pick it up. So apologize for that. I'll try to make sure that that doesn't happen again for anybody that bothered, but just wanted to get out there that it wasn't music that I was playing. So I don't even know what the songs were, but it wasn't for me. It's getting really close to springtime, which is awesome because there'll be a whole lot more projects we can do outside with the FD. We're this close to getting the door cards put back in the car. Like I said, they are just sitting right here for right now, but that's just because I'm waiting on one more thing to happen before I can get those buttoned in. But we're really, really close, like a couple days tops, and I'd be able to get the car interior buttoned up. And we did end up hitting over 10,000 subscribers a couple months back. I didn't make a big deal of it because it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I'm still gonna make these videos if I had 20 subscribers or 100,000 subscribers. For everybody that's watched a video or has subscribed or left comments, I can't explain how much I appreciate your support and the comments and the interactions that I have with you guys. So thank you very much. I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. And like I said, the next one will get picked up with the rest of these door cards. So I'll see you guys next time.